Hey everybody, how's it going? Thanks for stopping by. Look, today I just want to have a bit of a quick discussion about something that always gnaws away at me. It's always there, just poking at me, prodding at me, and it's the fact that, the founding mythologies of countries like Canada and the United States and many in Western Europe, at least in a modern sense, are just lies. And that big lie is that equality of opportunity exists under a capitalist system. From the very beginning of some of these countries, like the United States, there was this broad idea, hypocritical as it was, given the rights of women and non-white people, that all men were created equal, and that before the law, in a sense, everyone had an equal chance at success, and everyone had an equal chance to become, a leader, to become a businessman, to become somebody of wealth and influence and importance. And that the implication being, should you not succeed, it's not due to, the royal blood of somebody else or to systems of class or caste, but your own individual failings and or the fact that other people worked harder than you and wanted it more and earned it more. And so from the very beginning, societies where the idea of equality of opportunity is so central have effectively created a self-perpetuating system of justification for inequality and social injustice. But it has to be clearly stated, there is no equality of opportunity under capitalism. Under capitalism, equality of opportunity is 100% a lie. Look, I understand the general point that in systems like we have in Western Europe and in North America, there is no formal, rigid inequality of caste or class like there has existed in some places around the world and in some times of history. There is no formal law saying, for instance, all prime ministers of Canada must be men. And there's no law saying, for instance, that, the access to the rich and powerful is determined largely by who you know and who your parents were, and on and on and on. These are not formal rules, but they are informal realities that manifest in our day-to-day lives. If we truly had a system of equality of opportunity, then we wouldn't see such high levels of intergenerational succession of wealth and power and privilege. As I noted in one of my relatively recent videos, using data from the United States, it noted that children from rich families who did below average in school had better life outcomes than children from poor families with very high levels of achievement. So they weren't even just comparing smart rich kids to smart poor kids. They were comparing below average rich kids to some of the smartest poor kids and finding out it's better to be rich than it is to be smart. And so if there was truly equal opportunity in our society, in societies like the United States and Canada and others, then we would expect that more often than not, the smart kids from poor families would overachieve rich kids who are less than average in academic achievement and what have you. But such is not the case. The gifts of nature, and your effort do not outweigh the systemic privileges of others. Be they on purely economic terms, or be they in terms of race and gender and ethnicity and migration status and sexuality and disability and on and on and on. Through all the matrices of marginalization and oppression and privilege and power. There is no equality of opportunity. And I think it's very crucial that we start to put this more forcefully on the left. Because one, equality of opportunity is used as one of the major justifications for inequality today. People who identify as leftists or liberals or even conservatives, inequality speaks to them as something bad. But if the inequality is cast in a sense that those who benefit from it deserve it, and those who don't benefit from it deserve their poverty or their lack of wealth or what have you, then you can justify it in your head. You can say to yourself, geez, this seems unfair to me, but, that person wouldn't have money if they didn't deserve it, and that person wouldn't be poor if they didn't deserve it. And we all tell ourselves that. And when bad things happen to us, often we recognize, or bad things happen to others that we know, We recognize that perhaps the system isn't fair. But we have, in a sense, internalized and externalized a belief that poverty and wealth are earned primarily when they're not. They are systems of luck and inheritance and privilege and power, and the absence of them, is the inverse of all of that. And the left also has to offer a challenge to this. We have to challenge the main aspects of what causes inequality of opportunity. And that's intergenerational transfers of wealth, that's elite educational institutions that are gated overwhelmingly by money, that is systems of taxation that don't look at capital gains and inheritances, and it goes to a fundamental recognition that equality of condition is required for equality of opportunity. So on the one hand, as I noted, you do have to tax the rich and break down their gated communities of privilege, literally and figuratively. But you also have to raise all those who are marginalized. Free universal daycare to PhD education is one thing that is needed for a truly equal society in terms of opportunity. Universal cradle-to-grave access to healthcare. Universal cradle-to-grave access to pharmaceuticals. Universal cradle-to-grave access to basic housing and food and job opportunities. In a sense, we have to decouple equality of opportunity from capitalism. People will associate those two things because capitalist societies are necessarily societies where inequality is to some degree celebrated. Liberals and progressives in a loose term, and certainly conservatives and regressives will celebrate inequality. But they have to be careful and ensure that that celebration is always rooted in the tandem of, don't forget, this society is one in which we're all equally able to succeed if we work for it hard enough. That always has to be said. Whether it's politicians saying it or whether it's inspirational people being used as examples, saying, well, if I did it, anybody else can do it. Ergo, if they don't do it, they suck, and it's their fault. We have to break down that connection, and we have to let people know that a society of true equality of opportunity can only really happen under a society that's largely socialist in its orientation. A society that's largely based on the democratic control of the means of production through state and cooperative and worker ownership. A system where the maximum levels of inequality are maybe not zero. Maybe some manner of wealth inequality is permissible, but are so small that the ability to pass on wealth from generation to generation is marginal at best. Maybe a society where the richest people can have, say, 5 times or 8 times or 10 times the wealth of the poorest people in a society. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's too much. Maybe that's not enough. I don't know. I'm not, proposing a specific system here. I'm making a general point that a system that is rooted in fundamental access to human rights and dignities and challenges major, gross inequalities of income and wealth and access to privilege and exclusive systems is the only way we can get to a society of equality of opportunity. And I think this fight in the discourse is one the left has to take on because, again, the idea of equality of opportunity is so powerful to people. People really believe it. It's why dozens and dozens of millions of people, over the generations have come to countries like Canada and the USA. These countries were ones where equality of opportunity above all was seen as the virtue of these societies. Like, you could come from a country where there were limited opportunities, in general or based on, your ethnic or religious group or what have you, and come to Canada and have an equal shot. And whether that was ultimately true or not, people believed it, and that belief has meaning. And still today, millions of people come to these countries for that dream. But we have to let people know that that dream is an illusion under our current socioeconomic order. And that if we truly want to build a society of equality of opportunity, we have to build one where equality of condition from birth at the very least till the end of your childhood is functionally equal for everybody, at least in core material terms. I don't know if there's a solution to the fact that, people have different parents, and some people will have better parents, and people are luckier or less lucky than others. I don't know if there's a solution to that, but I do know that there are solutions to the vast majority of socioeconomic issues that affect inequality and how it manifests later on in life. And only socialism offers an answer to that challenge. So I think we have to take up the mantle and own opportunity. For so long, the left has owned equality. And whether or not people supported us or not, we owned equality. It's like, well, the right supports opportunity, the left supports equality. But I think we need to realize that we are the only ones that support both equality and opportunity. We support equality. Everyone should have equal access to the basic needs of life and really the basic wants of life at the very least. And we're the only ones that believe truly that everyone should have equal opportunity to succeed in life. Because we're the only ones willing to challenge a capitalist system that's predicated against any sense of equality for anyone.